Welcome everyone to today's topic. Today we are discussing potentiometer. So this shows a potentiometer wire. So potentiometer apparatus consists of 10-meter length wire. Okay, arranged in 10 rows. So here we have shown 4 rows. Like that 10 rows will be there in actual potentiometer. Each row will be of length 1 meter. Each row will have a length 1 meter. That is what a potentiometer is. Now, how to use potentiometer? What is the principle of potentiometer? So first of all, we will allow a constant current to pass through the potentiometer. When constant current passes through potentiometer, the wire we are choosing, we are assuming it to be of uniform area of cross section. That means throughout the length of the wire, the area or thickness remains the same. Okay. Under that condition, when we allow a constant current to pass through it, if you can find, that means if you take any 2 points, suppose we take these 2 points A and C, the potential difference between A and C will be proportional to the length AC. Suppose length AC we write as L. So what the principle of potentiometer is this: the potential difference between A and C, that means if we write VAC, VAC is directly proportional to length L. So that is the principle of potentiometer. So the principle of potentiometer, that is working of potentiometer, is based on the fact that fall of potential across any portion of the wire is directly proportional to length of that portion, provided the wire is of uniform area of cross section and the constant current is flowing through it. So if you take any length, that means any length you can take, anywhere you can take. Suppose you take 2 points like this, that means one is here and the other is here. So we call these points as A dash and B dash. So the potential difference between A dash and B dash, we write it as VA dash B dash. So VA dash B dash will be proportional to length A dash B dash. That's what the principle of potentiometer says. Now how we reach at that principle? It is very easy. That means it directly follows from Ohm's law. You know Ohm's law. According to Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. And R is equal to what? Rho L by A. So V is equal to I into rho L by A. Okay. So if rho is constant for a given material, and if A and I are constant, I means current passing through the wire, A means thickness of the wire. So if I and A are constant, we can say that V is directly proportional to L. Okay, so from this only we say like this, that means potential drop across any length of the wire is directly proportional to that particular length. That is the principle of potentiometer. Now, if you find the potential drop, that means a potential drop per unit length. So, V is proportional to L, so that V by L, that ratio V by L is called as potential gradient. So V is proportional to L throughout the length of the wire. So throughout the length of the wire, V by L will be a constant. What do you mean by V by L? V by L is potential drop per unit length. That V by L is called as potential drop per unit length. So that potential drop per unit length will be a constant. That constant is termed as potential gradient. So potential gradient represented by small letter k, that is equal to V by L, and it has the SI unit volt per meter. So this is the principle of working of potentiometer. Now potentiometer, we can use potentiometer for mainly 3 uses. First is to find the potential difference, to determine the potential difference. and second one is to compare the EMF, and the third one is to find the internal resistance of a given cell. Okay. Before coming to the experiments, let's discuss how to allow current to pass through this potentiometer wire. So to pass constant current through potentiometer wire, we have an arrangement like this. So we have the same potentiometer experiment what we have discussed earlier, potentiometer apparatus. So between the two terminals A and B, we are connecting a cell, a rheostat, an ammeter and a key. Okay, so key is kept closed, so current will be passing through the potentiometer wire. So this circuit is common in all experiments in relation with potentiometer. So whatever experiment we are discussing, whatever application we are discussing, in those applications, this particular part, that means the circuit which is used to allow current to pass through the potentiometer wire, that circuit remains the same. And this circuit is called driver circuit. What is it called? Driver circuit, or it is also called as primary circuit. So primary circuit or driver circuit, this is the circuit which I have marked. And the cell which is used in the primary circuit, we call it as driver cell. So that cell whose EMF, if I mark epsilon, that EMF is epsilon. So that particular cell is called as driver cell. So the circuit which is used to provide potential difference across the ends of potentiometer wire, or which is used to allow constant current to pass through the potentiometer wire, that circuit is called driver circuit, and that particular cell is called driver cell. And this circuit will be common for all the uses of potentiometer. Okay, you have a rheostat. By using rheostat only we can vary current in this driver circuit. So to measure that current, how much current is there, we have a meter, and to switch it on and off we have the key. Okay, so when we close the key, current will be passing through the driver circuit as shown in the diagram. Now coming to, so now we will discuss the important application of potentiometer in determining the potential difference. Okay, so this shows the circuit diagram. In this diagram, this part, that means the connection between the points A and B, it's known as primary circuit of or driver circuit, and the cell is called driver cell, and you have another cell epsilon 1 which is connected across R1 to provide a potential difference across R1. It is that potential difference across R1 which we need to measure. Okay, so first current will be flowing through potentiometer wire. So this experiment has got two parts. First part is to find the potential gradient. So to find potential gradient, first we need to close the key K without closing K1. So current will be passing through potentiometer wire. So we have to make the current through potentiometer wire in such a way that potential difference across A and B, that is VAB, should be greater than epsilon 1. So the potential difference between the ends of potentiometer wire should be greater than epsilon 1. That way the current should be flowing through the potentiometer wire. The current through potentiometer wire is given by I is equal to epsilon divided by R plus R, where small r is the resistance of potentiometer wire and capital R is the resistance introduced in the rheostat, or in the variable resistor. The resistance included is capital letter R. So without closing key K1, keeping the key K closed, we can find the current through potentiometer wire. I is equal to epsilon divided by R plus R. Therefore, VAB will be equal to I into R, that is epsilon R divided by R plus R. Now, if capital letter L is the total length of potentiometer wire, then potential gradient is given by VAB by L, that is epsilon R divided by L into R plus R. So this explains how to find the potential gradient. Now after finding potential gradient, as the next step, we have to keep the key K1 closed. At that time, the current will be passing through R1. So potential difference across R1 we can find. For that, you need to look for the balancing length on the potentiometer wire. Balancing length means after keeping the key K1 closed, press the jockey on the potentiometer wire at different points. The point at which the galvanometer shows zero deflection or null deflection is known as, or that point is known as balancing point, or that length is called as balancing length. If J is that balancing point, AJ is the balancing length. If that balancing length is small letter L, then the potential difference across R1 is given by K into L. Okay, the potential difference across R1 is given by K into L, because potential difference across AJ will be equal to potential difference across R1. So potential difference across R1 will be equal to K into L, where K is the potential gradient. Now the next application, comparison of EMFs using potentiometer. So as we discussed earlier, the driver circuit remains the same. This driver circuit is the same. Okay. Now the secondary circuit means this circuit. Okay. This circuit includes the cells whose EMFs we have to compare. So here in this particular experiment, we have 3 cells. One cell is used in driver circuit, that is driver cell, and the other 2 cells whose EMFs we have to compare. Those EMFs are epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. Okay. Now we are connecting these 2 cells through a special arrangement. You can see 6 terminals there. So we call it as 6 terminal key. So with the help of a 6 terminal key, the 2 cells whose EMFs are to be compared are connected in the circuit. So we have 6 terminals as shown. Between the first pair of terminals, we connect first cell of EMF epsilon 1. Then between the third pair, we connect the second cell, that is epsilon 2. And between the 2, that means the middle terminals, we connect. That means one middle terminal is connected to the end A and the other middle terminal is connected to the galvanometer, and from the galvanometer the connection goes to jockey. Now in this experiment, one more point is to be noted, that is the 3 positives will be at the same point A. Driver cell positive and these 2 cells positive will be at the same point A. So that is a point to be noted. Now how we start with the experiment. So the 6 terminal key is used to introduce the 2 cells epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 one by one. That means first we will include epsilon 1 in the secondary circuit. Then we will take the measurement. Then we will include epsilon 2 in the circuit. Then we will, like that, to include epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 alternatively, we are using the 6 terminal key. So the thing is this, between any 2 keys, that means on one side, if we take this side, okay, between the 2 keys there are gaps to insert the key. I think you are familiar with the key. So to insert key, there are gaps. So here on one side itself, there will be 2 gaps, and here also there will be 2 gaps. Okay, so in those gaps, by inserting keys there, you can include the 2 cells in the circuit alternatively. So first of all, we will allow current to pass through the potentiometer wire such that potential difference between A and B is more than the largest of the 2 EMFs, epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, which is the largest. More than that should be the potential difference between V, that means A and B. In that way, we have to send the current. Then in that condition, first of all, we will insert the key between C1C and D1D. So here we insert the key between C1C and D1D. So which cell will be included in the circuit? The cell of EMF epsilon 1 will be included in the circuit. So when that epsilon 1 is included in the circuit, now you have to press the jockey over the potentiometer wire, and at one particular point, the galvanometer will show 0 deflection. That point, let this be that point, we call it as J1. So at that particular point, that length we need to measure, that AJ1, that length we call as balancing length. Let it be L1. Okay, so L1 is the balancing length corresponding to the what EMF epsilon 1. Okay, so the thing is this, epsilon 1, as per the principle of potentiometer, epsilon 1 will be proportional to L1. So when we include first cell, we will get balancing length. So the EMF of that first cell will be proportional to L1. Similarly, we have second cell. So first, after including first cell and taking balancing length, we will remove the key from the gap C1C and D1D. Then after that, we will insert the key in C2C and D2D. In those 2 gaps, we will insert the key. So this cell will be included in the circuit. Epsilon 2 will be included in the circuit. In the same way, you have to press the jockey over the potentiometer wire and find the balancing point and find balancing length. Let that balancing length be L2. So L2 is the balancing length when epsilon 2 is included in the circuit. Now, as per the principle of potentiometer, we can write epsilon 2 will be proportional to L2. So we have epsilon 1 proportional to L1 and epsilon 2 proportional to L2. So the thing is this, we can write epsilon 1 is equal to KL1 and epsilon 2 is equal to KL2. So epsilon 1 is KL1 and epsilon 2 is KL2. So what we can write, epsilon 1 by epsilon 2 is equal to L1 by L2, because that K, that is potential gradient. So that K and K will get cancelled and we get the ratio epsilon 1 by epsilon 2 is equal to L1 by L2. You can use either epsilon 1 or E1 and E2. Anyway, that's up to you. Okay, so the ratio of EMFs easily we are getting as L1 by L2.